welcome to our show tonight. Welcome to We'll Sing and We'll Shout. This is your host Steve Hansen right here live at the Provo Rec Center. So I'm going to actually go out here and play some basketball, and Sister Cheryl is going to be taking the lead with segment 11, I think it is, of the Boyfriend's Countdown Calendar. So with no further ado, I'm going to cut her loose. Sure, I'm going to mute myself so you don't have to listen to me. But I will keep my headphones on and kind of be listening into you, and
All right.
and then I'll try to hop back in. But if I'm in the middle of a game, you may just have to keep talking. So just tell them, talk about the weather, talk about Trump, whatever you got to do to fill the time. So
I'll put Joey's here.
I'm good.
all right, sounds good. Take it away.
All right. Hello, everybody. Steve's going to go play basketball. Earlier, he called me and I could hear all the squeaking shoes in the background. So that was pretty funny. Looking good, Steve. Nice and sweaty. All right. I don't know what he's doing. Now he's crooked. All right. So I don't know if any of you can hear me or not, but Joey, can you hear me? Like if you go to Steve's live thing, can you hear me talking? All right.
Hey, Cheryl, I can hear you, so I don't think there's any problem.
Oh, okay. Joey was
I think
going to
you're-
check for me.
Yeah, but I think you're good to go.
Okay. All right, everybody. So this is number 11 of my boyfriend countdown calendar, which we still haven't been able to figure out how to. I do have pictures of a lot of these guys. I'm not just making this up, I swear. So I'm thinking about putting together kind of a collage of pictures, or I don't know. If any of you have any suggestions for this ridiculousness, please let me know. So this is a really interesting one this week because I'm in my 10th grade year at this point, and one of the guys that I met in my 10th grade year was named Martin Showalter. And he moved from Washington State. He was going to school in Spokane at the time. And so he moved to Sandusky because his parents had both graduated from Sandusky High School. So all of his grandparents lived in Sandusky, and aunts and uncles and everything. The whole Showalter Mears clan all come from Sandusky area. So they moved to Sandusky, and it's kind of an interesting story. When they moved, Larry, who's Martin's dad, was in the Air Force, and he was supposed to be hired in Sandusky to be a pilot for this manufacturing company called something Nut. Anyway, they made like little nuts and bolts. And so he went and took the training for Learjet to learn how to do it. And by the time they got to Sandusky, they had given the job to someone else. So Larry shows up in Sandusky with his entire family and no way to support them. So my dad happened to have just lost his guy, Steve McKee, that had worked at our farm for about 3 years. And he needed someone. It was fall because Martin was just starting school. And it would have been Martin's would have been Martin's junior year because it was my sophomore year. So Larry Showalter came to work at Greyhaven Farm. So I actually knew Martin's dad kind of before I got to know Martin because I'd see him every day and he'd come in for lunch, and really neat. I know a lot of you don't know Martin's dad, but he was very handsome and just, he was a pilot in the Air Force, and he was the CEO of the whole base in Greece. So this was a man that earned a lot of respect, and my dad really, really liked him, and they bonded and became really good friends. But so then when I would go to church, there was this young man there, Martin, and his mom was teaching our seminary class, which if you're not Mormon, you don't know much about this, but out in Utah, they have seminary class during the day at school, and they can take some time off. There's kind of that religious thing where you can take an hour off and go have a religious training. And so out west, they have, the kids just walk across to a different building and take their seminary class, which is about scripture study and things like that, learning maybe church history and things like every year there's a different topic. So Martin's mom was our seminary teacher, but unfortunately here in Ohio, we didn't have schools where, my school had 5 Mormons. So having a seminary building probably wouldn't have worked out so well. So we had to go what was called early morning seminary, which if any of you know me, you know that didn't work out so well for me because I am not a morning person at all. But we had to get up at 5, drive a half an hour up to the ward building and go to seminary class, be there for probably 45 minutes and then go back home. So Martin's mom was teaching seminary. Martin was in the seminary class with me. So I got to see him just about every day. And he kind of had a crush on me and would like write me letters. And um, so he would call me a lot. And I liked Martin, but I didn't love Martin. Um, there was something I was looking for. There was a specific type of person I was looking for. And that was like a clean cut, all American Mormon missionary. I mean, when you're Mormon, you want to marry a return missionary. It's a thing. And Martin kind of had a chip on his shoulder, and now I understand why, because he had been to like 6 different high schools just in the last few years. So anytime he started to make a friend group, it was ripped out from under him, and he got moved again. So by the time he got to Sandusky High School, he didn't really want to make friends because he just knew that somehow it would all get messed up. So he kind of had a chip on his shoulder, and he wore his hair long, which didn't appeal to me. He had blonde hair and lovely gold wavy locks of blonde hair, but that just didn't appeal to me. So I tried to be his friend. I was his friend. I just never really felt that romance for Martin. And so he called me once on a Friday night. He would come over to our house on Friday nights, and he would sit in the living room with us, and all my little brothers would be on the floor, and we'd be watching Dukes of Hazzard. And then I would insist on watching Dallas, and Martin would sit there and painfully watch Dallas because, anybody that's watched Dallas knows what a terrible show it was. So, but I liked Lucy on Dallas. And so Martin would sit on the couch and watch my brothers play and fight and carry on with each other. And he'd sit there just to be near me. And he said he did remember one time my brother Andy came by and had a stinky diaper. Andy was probably about 2 at the time. And he said he was really impressed with me because instead of like just letting it go, I picked Andy up, threw him on the floor, and changed his diaper right there in front of Martin. So Martin was the youngest in his family, so he'd never seen anybody change a diaper. So I think that shocked him. But, me having been the eldest of and having 5 brothers, I changed diapers all the time. So it wasn't any big deal for me. So he was very impressed with that. And one Friday night, he called me and said he wanted to come down and hang out. And I said, well, I'm going to a ball game up in Bellevue, um, Bellevue Athletic Field, big stadium there that we always went to football games every Friday. He didn't miss it. I mean, it was like Friday Night Lights thing. Football's a big deal in Bellevue and in the whole state of Ohio, obviously. So I said, but you're welcome to come down and go to the game with us. So he said, oh, all right. So he drove down to the farm, which is a half an hour drive from Sandusky. It's not like a 10-minute thing. And we took him up to the ball game with us. And so we all went in, and my mom happened to be going that night, which was kind of unusual. Usually she would just kind of drop us at the gate and then pick us up later at usually a Burger Chef downtown. We'd walk down there with our friends. And so Martin and mom and me, and we all walked into the stadium, and we went up and sat in the stands, maybe halfway up. And so I sat there with mom and Martin for a few minutes, and then, all my friends were down in the cheering section. So I said, I'll be right back. And I went off and I went and cheered with my friends and basically left him sitting with my mom for the entire game. So he said my mom looked over at him and said, I'm so sorry, because she knew that he really liked me and I just really wasn't giving him the time of day. So he would come to we were doing the Wizard of Oz that fall for our theater group, and he would come sit in the audience and watch the play practice, which I know must have been boring for him, knowing how he feels about theater at this point. And so I think I invited him to go on this temple trip. We would go from Cleveland to Washington, D.C., and it was like an 8-hour drive. So we all got on buses, a bunch of us young kids from like ages 12 to 18. We would go on these temple trips, and we'd only be gone like one night and then come back the next day. But I invited him to go, and he said, why should I go? And I said, because it would be good for you. And so we went, and I actually got on a different bus than him. He thought he was going to be sitting with me down to Washington, D.C. and back. And I got on a different bus, and he was just, I think that was when he finally just gave up and realized that I wasn't really into him. But so after that, he slowly stopped coming to church. And Then the next year, in his senior year, his dad ended up moving to Arizona. His mom and dad divorced at that point in time, and his dad ended up moving to Arizona. So Martin had the choice of going to Arizona with his dad, and he took his dad up on that. So he had just graduated. Well, I don't know. They left in the winter, so maybe he graduated 6 months early, or like a semester early, because they. I remember him telling me about them driving to Arizona in the winter time. That he was trying to take this car that he loved with him, and ended up it wasn't pulling well behind the U-Haul, so they ended up leaving it, and his mom sold it without his permission. So he's still mad at her about that. But um, so he ended up going to Arizona, and he did come to church one more time to see me before he left. And his hair was really long by that point, and the chip on his shoulder hadn't gotten any better. So I still didn't really have any feelings for him. So he moved down to Arizona, and he was there for 30 years and got married and had 3 children. And I lost track of him. So that's all I'm going to say about that for now. We can talk about that subject later uh, in the future. So anyway, that's it, Steve. I'm done. I talked about Martin Showalter.
So hey, you can hear me, can't you?
Yep.
Can you hear me if I'm out here?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Maybe the headphones are working. So there was a lot there that I didn't remember all that, him being so active about coming out to the farm and stuff. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know where I was. I mean, obviously I was there. I probably
Yep.
just wasn't paying attention to you. So
Well,
imagine
I had so many boyfriends coming and going that you boys were just
it
kind of
was.
like rolling your eyes like, oh, it's just another guy.
Yeah, yeah. But I certainly, remember Marty when he was young,
Yeah.
and remember what car did he have? Wasn't it like a blue car?
It was a
Wasn't it like
red
this?
Camaro, 69 Camaro, I think. And he absolutely loved this car.
Yeah,
But
but
what was so funny is he would pull up in church with this fancy car, what he thought was fancy car, and he just thought it was going to impress me. I've never been
right.
impressed by cars. I didn't care. A car for me is to get from point A to point B. I don't care what it looks like. And so
Yeah,
I think he was really hurt that I wasn't super impressed by his Camaro,
I was never able to impress girls with my car either. I mean, you were impressed, but
Well,
but
you had the best though. Yours were way better than his.
yeah, my big red convertible, yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would shine that thing all up, and nobody seemed to be overly impressed. So
Well,
it wasn't.
my college girlfriends, my college roommates loved it.
Oh, my convertible, yeah,
Yeah, because you
yeah,
took us all over Provo that one night, and we had so much fun.
yeah, but I didn't see any of them asking me out afterwards. So
Well, you were
you
quite a
know,
bit younger than us.
only a couple years,
Well,
but
yeah.
but
Well, it wouldn't
anyway,
have
I don't
bothered
know
me
this.
any. I dated a freshman when I was a senior, so I wouldn't have cared. But
I
you were
don't
my
know that
brother,
there's.
so I wasn't going to date you.
I think Kim was kind of cute, maybe, but I don't remember the others at all. So,
Yeah, Kim was cute,
so
very cute and funny.
but,
She had her
yeah,
cute
I didn't
British
remember.
accent.
I didn't remember all that about Marty. So
Yeah. I
that
mean,
poor guy, you were really hard on
oh,
him.
so hard on him. Why the heck did he ever come back?
Yeah.
But I mean, should I
Well,
just go on and tell the whole story about like how we got back together and everything, or should I save that for the end? That seems to me like it'd be the better for to be the very last one.
I'm fine. I'm fine with that. If you want to save that, I mean, yeah, that's kind of like the capstone. So
Yeah, because that's my big love story, So I think that it would be smart to just leave it at the fact that I didn't like Marty back then, but he
but
liked me. So
but
whenever we
things
like,
things things
whenever
can
we
come
meet
back around
people,
sometimes.
yeah, whenever we meet people and they look at the two of us and Marty's like, yeah, I loved her, but she didn't want anything to do with me. I think they're just shocked because the way we look now. Um,
But
in fact, there was a guy at church, Fremont. He saw Martin after church, and I went back to Relief Society, and he said, "Oh, it's so cute the way your mother puts her head on your shoulder during the services." And Martin said, "That would be my wife." He thought I was Martin's mother.
hey,
Oh
can you
golly.
can you see me on the screen pretty good right now? Like, can you see me over here?
Yeah, I can see you now. You kind of disappeared just now. Now I can see
Okay,
you.
so you don't have a full view, but
Nope.
you have a pretty good view. So
Yeah,
we played those two. We were playing with those two girls, but they've got a league game over here, so they had to take off.
I
So
see.
so we only played for a few points, and then they took off. But
Ah,
my, let's see, did my team win? I think we did. I think we
is that
won, so
Kenny?
that's important. No, there's no Kenny here.
All right.
Kenny's six. Kenny's 6'1", so
Wow.
he towers over me now. So
Well, that's pretty
uh,
cool.
he's not that much of a basketball player, so there wouldn't be any challenge on that front. But
How
but
funny.
but but as far as height goes, uh, yeah, he's taller. So
Isn't it funny how people assume if you're tall, you automatically play basketball?
yeah,
Like, do you
yeah.
remember Martin Hahn and his brother?
Oh yeah, Scott was a little
Yeah,
taller,
Scott. Yeah, Martin
wasn't
was six
Scott?
five and Scott was 6'6".
Right.
And so everyone, would just assume that they were basketball players and they didn't really want much to do with basketball. So it's just so funny.
Thank you. Yeah.
But I went to prom with Martin Hahn because
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
I had just broken up with Gary Pollock, and I didn't have anybody
Right.
to go with. So we went as friends, and I just danced with his belly button all night, basically, because he was so tall. Even with me in my heels, he was still just towered above me.
Right.
And then,
Oh
you know
boy.
what? This is interesting. When I went to Washington, D.C. for Kim's funeral, my friend Connie went with me. Martin had a nice dinner for me because Martin Hahn lives in D.C. He's a lawyer there at something for the government,
Right.
FDA or something. And so him and his wife had a really nice dinner for me and Connie. And then they actually put us up. We slept at their house. And so Scott Hahn came to the dinner to see us.
Oh.
And so he's sitting at the table with us. And afterwards, he's getting ready to leave. So we walked him out. And you know what kind of car Scott Hahn had? A VW Bug.
Oh, really? Okay.
Can you imagine that man with those long legs fitting? I think he practically sat in the back seat and drove it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I could not believe he was a father. He was like a Catholic priest.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he
Yeah,
had his whole get up. He had his whole priest get up on.
I forgot that the Hans were Catholic, but yeah.
Very.
Yeah. How many kids were in that family? I mean, they had an older sister. Was it like Christian Hahn or something? Or?
There was Nick. Nick was Nick was his brother, maybe. I know there was quite a few brothers and maybe like one sister, sort of like our family.
Yeah.
But I think Nick was even taller than the others. I think he might have been 6'8". I mean, they were
Right.
just an
Yeah.
enormous bunch of gigantic people in their family.
Right.
But
I'm
Martin and I
sure
just
Coach Shine wishes they would have played some
been in
basketball.
basketball. I know.
Yeah.
We used to sit together at lunch every day, and he was a farm kid and I was a farm kid, and we just got each other,
Yeah.
But
Yep.
there was never anything romantic there. He did take me to prom the one time. Oh my gosh, we stayed the night on the beach in Huron with Mark Weber and this girl that was from Sweden. Agneta was her name. No, not Agneta. Agneta was the next year. Eva. Eva was the redhead. So we went to prom with Eva and Mark Weber. So we went to the beach in Huron and we stayed there till probably 4 or 5 in the morning. The sun was just coming up and we're starting to go home. And Martin was so tired. He was driving and he was trying so hard to stay awake. So he stopped at like a 7-Eleven and got this really cheesy cigar, like this stupid, like strawberry or cherry smelling cigar. And he started smoking that thing on the way home to keep himself awake.
Right.
I've never laughed so hard in my life as watching Martin Hahn smoke a cheap cigar.
Now, why didn't I thought Mark Weber was dating Lori Palmerston?
No, that's Mark England.
Oh, Mark England. Oh, okay. Well, who did Weber date? Did he date Mavis Church for a while or something? Or?
Mark Weber never really dated much of anyone. But I did see Mark. I happened to have his house for the census because he lives down that lane behind where the Webers live on 269. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's
Kind
been a
of
while, but
right
yeah,
across
they
from
live
right across from
back
Grandma Grandpa's old house, kind of.
they live back a lane. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Mark still has that home. His parents, died and he was left that home. And so I went back there for the census and gosh, that was a beautiful property. Absolutely stunning. And
Isn't it,
I was so jealous.
isn't it amazing what's hidden away from the road sometimes?
Oh,
Uh,
it was like heaven back there. And
you know,
the trees were just perfect and the house was perfect and you had some outbuildings and I was like, Mark, this is just, I wish I could live here with you. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. So
another place that was really nice was Mary Leininger's over there by McPeak's.
yes, I
Uh,
always wanted to buy that. You know who ended up buying that? Sandy Watson.
Sandy Watson. I don't
Yeah,
know that I knew her.
she was either in my class. She was kind of a stoner when we were in school.
Okay.
But really, really nice lady. And she died recently of a heart attack. Like just before she was going to get her social security, she passed away. It was so
Oh wow.
depressing. Yeah.
Right.
But she lived in Mary Leininger's house. She bought it after Mary died.
So what's happened with it now?
I think her husband still lives there.
Okay.
But
But
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, being down
that's
that
a
lane
really
and
nice.
everything and being that brick, I would love to buy that property just to be close to the farm.
Yeah. Well, the trees. I mean, it's just a really neat place.
Yeah, it
So
is.
we put a bunch of hay in her barn one summer. Well, it was that summer of '82.
Yeah.
We were running out of hay in our barn, and Mary let us put some up there. So let me
Yeah,
tell you
Sherry and
this about
Tommy
the
used to kind of take play. They were kind of like a niece and nephew to her. And Sherry
yeah.
used to take care of the place when she was gone. And I know Tommy had some stuff to do there. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, she had this pickup truck. I can't remember what make it was. I think it. I don't know whether it was a Chevy or Ford, but it had the stick shift on the column. And
Oh, yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
after we had our accident where our truck got smashed into the tree, we drove her truck around for a while, and then
Well, that was awful nice of her.
Grandpa found out that we were driving Mary's truck, and
Uh-huh.
and without obviously I didn't have a license then, and
You put the kibosh on it.
he put the kibosh on that.
I
So,
bet he did.
but we had fun, and when we went on that mailbox escapade, we did that with
Uh-huh.
Mary's truck. So can you
No way.
because that was after the accident. So we went out
You
and did that
guys are
mailbox
evil.
thing with Mary's truck,
Can't
and
believe you did that.
so we'll cover that story soon.
All right.
I'm not going to hide from that story.
Yeah.
It's not the highlight of my life,
Right.
but it is the reality. So we'll talk about that whole escapade.
So I
And
haven't told you a whole lot about my trip with Dad yesterday to the Bellevue Society for the Arts.
oh,
But
tell us, please do tell.
one of the things that happened was I was really worried about Dad in the show. Our dad has Alzheimer's disease for people who don't know. And I picked Dad up yesterday to take him to a show just to give Susan a break. And so Sherry had gotten us tickets. And so we kind of put Dad in the middle because I didn't want him getting up and
I'll play
like
if you
tripping
need
down
me.
the aisle and falling. So we were watching Fiddler on the Roof. It was fabulous, directed by Jimmy Furman. And so for the first hour of the show, Dad was pretty enthralled with the show and really into it. He knew the music. And so that was cool. And then the second half of the show, the second half of the first act, he started to get real antsy and wanted to get up and leave. And he started saying very inappropriate things during the show, like, these people look crazy. What are they doing up there? And just like right out loud. And I was trying to hush him and he wasn't being hushed. So I finally leaned over and I said, Dad, if you don't be quiet, I'm going to spank you. And oh my gosh, he got the giggles about that. He thought that was so funny. And he's like, you've always been such a nice girl. And he pats me on the leg or something. And yeah, that was awesome. So, and then this is a really funny part of the story. I think I was telling my son Joey earlier today. Um, when I got out to the car, because we left at intermission, because I knew he wasn't going to be able to sit through another half. So we got out to the car to get in the car, and he'd been riding in the back seat, and then I put him in the front seat. So he leans over and he looks at my floor mats, which are those rubber floor mats that you can kind of rinse off. But when Martin had been on strike, he was in a real muddy parking lot. So to get in the car with his muddy feet, so my floor mats don't look that great. So Dad looks at my floor mats as he gets in, and he's just staring at them. And he says, Cheryl, I'd like to buy you some floor mats. He says, as a gift, I'm going to buy you some new floor mats. Oh my gosh, I was dying because this is Dad's way of being nice, but also saying your floor mats are a mess. You need to do something about it, you know.
Right.
And then he said, and there was a bunch of dust on my dashboard, and he said, and I'd like to hire someone to clean that dashboard for you. This is Dad being passive aggressive about how I'm not clean enough for his standards, and you know,
Right.
he wasn't sure he wanted to ride in that car because it was too dirty.
Hey, I gotta jump out here and play some ball with these guys. They need me to play 5-on-5. Do you want to keep talking, or should we shut this off?
Then? I think I'm out of stories.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Yep.
Bye, everybody.